I put my desk up a little bit to dust out aerial before stream started, so that's why my head is cut off. Alright, there we go. Hi, everybody. Happy. I lost track of time because my brain is empty. Happy Wednesday. I hope the day was restful and or productive for y'all. I did an interview earlier today, so if I seem a little bit more like off in the distance than usual, just assume that it is mostly from that. I think it went well. The work, if I get it, would be largely part-time. We'll have to see how it goes. I'm gonna hear back in it. And I gotta keep digging. I gotta keep digging for more stuff, and we'll see how it goes. I had to be gentle that time. Yeah, fair. Well, I didn't explode. Hi, Yuna. So we take those. We take those as a dub. We take those as a W. Also, I keep looking at silly things on Blue Sky and getting distracted. But okay. Minimize that for a second and let's be about it. So, mostly the main reason why we haven't been doing a lot of like shoot Lancer streams in particular is mostly just because everybody's been busy this month. Which means that, like, in my case in particular, that means that there are certain things I need to be making a habit of not doing programmatically, which means that without having the wherewithal and energy to like make sure that other things are going XYZ ways, it's like, right, I don't know what I should or shouldn't be dipping my hand into. However, there is one thing that I am allowed to dip my hand into, and that is updating the art for, and that is updating our art assets for levels, because that is usually not very time intensive and usually means that I can get away with like just doing a couple other things. It's been 84 years, something like that. So yeah, we'll see how much actually happens today as a result of that. So, sprites, background. Grab those. Hey, Shen. That's fine. I should also put the music down because I realized it was going really, really loud. I need to wake at some point, and I forgot to put it back down. Alright, so let's production, shoot answer. Okay, order over here. So just gotta grab these. So 0, 1, 2, 10 layers. All right, got it. 4, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Why did it say 11 items? Like, I don't understand how things count sometimes. Anyway, we're gonna do 2. Oh, it's because it's 3 and 3.5. That's why I didn't see it. Okay. Oh, I guess that's also useful because that means I know that they should be running at approximately the same speed and direction. Okay. Now let's start with the start. Sky texture. Okay. Off 8100 and 80. Where are my screen edges? Just to make sure that I didn't. Yeah, okay, we're good. I know it looks a little bit chopped off right now because the rest of it is up here, but that's because that was the old size. So working this now. Clouds over here now. Back range mountains with these now. That. Back range mount. Clouds, little clouds are. Let's see. Crystals here. Okay, dead trees. Mountain. Okay. So here's what we got so far. All right. That might be seeming there, but I have to. I just need to double check. So, 1 second. Offset. Yeah, just give me a second. I'm thinking in my head about where the offsets need to be set in order for this to look correctly. And it should be fine. Yeah, because the old one is 6,000, this one is 8,100, so let's do. Hang on a second. Possible to reserve less capacity than is currently available. Yeah. Okay, so the offset for the old. You have to adjustments of decimals, not all layers are exact. Alright. Yeah, because it looks like the sky offsets. Well, the sky's repeat size. Okay. Repeats the texture 2D of each of these node's children and offsets by this value. Okay, so if we reset that. So this is how long this is. So when I reset it, it turns to this piece. Interesting that it would be exactly 79.69 instead. But let's see. Alright, whatever. We'll take those. That should be about right. Alright. The clouds. So far as I can tell, it doesn't look like we have any seaming with those. And because of how much longer these are, I only anticipate that they need to repeat like this. Clouds are okay. Back range mountains. So clouds. Well, let's just do that anyway, just to get a little more space. Back range mountains. Okay. Probably just individual discrepancies on each layer, if I had to guess. Yeah, I'm not quite done yet. I'm basically just stopping to make sure that I catch as many seams as I can. Just gotta figure out. Okay. The offset. Oh, I didn't check that, did I? Hold on a second. Oh. Okay, centimeters turned off. Okay, I had to make sure. I started thinking about it for a second. I'm like, did I miss that?
Stay. Zell. 1, 2,
Okay, let's get
3,
actual music.
4, 5, 6, 7.
Okay. Because the only thing that has me surprised is that, theoretically speaking, it might be because I guess individually some of these are a little bit smaller than the 8100, which is why it doesn't quite map out exactly the way exactly as I would expect. But some of these I think I can just try throwing 8100 directly, and then if we get other issues from the way that it shows up, we can put that then. Mountain. Yeah, that's what I was worried about. Okay. Whipped Cream Mountain should be. And it was probably just because I was really far out, so the dithering made it look like that. We'll see if it sticks. We'll see if it sticks when we're actually playing. And if it does, then I will adjust that from there. I hope that was right. Give me a second, I saw the redemption. I'm just trying to think of something that's relevant right now for that. I just gotta go digging a bit to get game trivia out of the brain. Double check one thing real quick. Let me see here. I need to see one thing. Make sure that I... Even your headcanons count IMO because headcanons tend to stem from somewhere. Fair. I thought of the thing I wanted. I just need to make sure that I actually I just need to make sure that I have this information correctly in my brain. Hopefully I do not have this incorrect. Okay. So, shit, let's talk about Dragon Quest. Did you know that much like how Final Fantasy has had up until maybe the last 15-20 years, I forget specifically when I think maybe the first time we actually started to get the missing games would have been sometime around the Game Boy Advance era in territories outside of Japan. But yeah, did you know that Dragon Quest, aside from being named Dragon Warrior in the United States for a while, did you know that for several years, a majority of the Dragon Quest games that especially became very popular and well known in Japan were skipped for international release, primarily when Enix was working on it. As I recall it, I believe the only Dragon Quest games we initially got overseas. I'm double checking right now to make sure that I don't misremember this. I think I'm double checking right now just to make sure I don't misremember a couple of them. Okay, that's what it was. So we got the first 4, if I recall correctly. We got the first 4 Dragon Quest games as the Dragon Warrior games. So Dragon Quest 1, 2, 3, 4. I believe also we meaning in the United States. So let me phrase that more differently. The United States, if I recall correctly, got Dragon Warrior 1, 2, 3, and 4. But then, very critically, missed all of the Super Nintendo entries. Because Dragon Quest 4 was the last one that was released on the Famicom and by proxy the NES. So we missed Dragon Quest 5 and 6 in the United States. 7 came over on PlayStation 1, and then 8 from there. The main reason why this is so important is because, and I'm saying this because game design is not necessarily a straight linear line when it comes to influences from other things. Satoshi Tajiri has gone on record saying that Pokemon was primarily inspired by bug capturing. So it isn't even so much that like, oh, it's explicitly because of Dragon Quest V that we have Pokemon. I'm not saying that. But essentially speaking, insofar as things that were immediately contemporary to the release of Pokemon, because SMT Shin Megami Tensei had been a thing for many years before Pokemon was anyway. Well, Megami Tensei was, and then eventually SMT. One of the reasons why people kind of like perceived Dragon Warrior Monsters as like a Pokemon, not everybody, but a lot of people who didn't have this experience wound up going, Dragon Warrior Monsters, it's just like Dragon Warrior trying to be Pokemon. That's weird. Something ripoff. And it's like, no, it's not really like that. Because I've said this before when we were streaming Dragon Quest Monsters, but Dragon Warrior Monsters is more so following in the lineage of Dragon Quest V and to an extent 6. Because in particular, it features two members of the cast from 6 as children, and mostly harkens back to the monster taming and capture mechanics to a certain degree of the 5th and 6th Dragon Quest games. So what we wound up missing was essentially the context for why this was a thing, aside from, oh, they're just trying to capitalize on the Pokemon stuff. No. Dragon Quest has already had a history with like the concept of monster taming well before Pokemon was a thing. It's just that the United States in particular happened to miss that train specifically because the United States specifically missed that train because 5 and 6 got skipped. So a lot of the context behind why Dragon Quest monsters is the way that it is. People in the United States, no clue of that for many, many years. There you are, game trivia. With any luck. Okay. So, I'm gonna have to readjust some of these. And that one I may have already used before. I probably already talked about it at some point when we were streaming Dragon Quest Monsters, but I know that not everybody here saw those streams. So, hopefully, this kind of compensates for that. So, front clouds and low clouds should probably be about the same speed. Let's do and for those mid-range. So I'm slightly adjusting the scroll speed of these so that we can get a couple of more like nice little in-between spots insofar as the auto scroll. I genuinely value how much of this shit you know. Thank you. It's to be valued. Yeah. It happens to be there. One of the things that I'm at least grateful that I can say that I kept out of my, that I retained rather from the very expensive master's degree that I went to school for is that reminder that like game development is not, it's not linear. And a lot of the time, right? A lot of the time, you can't always draw a straight line between, especially when it comes to like contemporaries. You can sort of see how they bounce off of each other in certain aspects. Like there was, I was watching a retrospective video about the Jack franchise recently from somebody called B-Mask, right? This video is a couple of years older than some of their current stuff, but still. So in that, B-Mask is like, yeah, the main shift between Jack and Daxter and Jak 2 was partially prompted by the fact that like GTA kind of like blew up, especially specifically like GTA, right? Like GTA 3 blew up and that started like radically changing some people's minds about like how certain things went. And so Jak and Daxter, the precursor legacy, the first Jak game, very much kind of like that bog standard, like highly polished 3D platformer for like the PS2, right? And then Jak 2 made that shift mostly because the demographic in that sense was also starting to shift. And in times like that, you can say that, yeah, you can sort of like draw the line, but then you have things like the Dragon Quest Pokemon thing, right? Where a lot of people will make the assumption that Dragon Warrior Monsters, like I was saying before, is like just kind of a rip of Pokemon's concept. And it's like, it's not. No, not really, because well before Pokemon, you had a lot of the capture feature, tame creature. A lot of that was kind of already happening well beforehand on many different parallel tracks. Megami Tensei, like I said before, had already established that, and at least time, even by the time Dragon Quest V came out. Let me see something here. I'm gonna take a look at the date here, and then I have to do a comparative run of some SMP stuff. So give me a second. Dragon Quest V released in Japan basically late September '92, right? The first Megami Tensei story. First Megami Tensei, right? Not even Shin Megami Tensei. Not yet, right? The first Megami Tensei was a Famicom title in 1987, followed by the sequel, Digital Devil Story Megami Tensei 2, in 1990. The OG SMT, the original Shin Megami Tensei, that was 92. Specifically, that was October 30th, 1992. So it even came out like a month after Dragon Quest. But like, mind you, even in like the first Megami Tensei, you still had like, oh right, we gotta convince demons to join us and do this thing, right? And so it's one of those things where, right, a lot of that kind of like energy was already in the air well before Dragon Quest really got to it. But then you have Dragon Quest 5 and 6's spin on it, which then sort of evolves into Dragon Quest Monsters spin on it, which then further changes even farther down the line, such that like you can't really Dragon Quest Monsters as a franchise, and I'm saying this now because there is a new Dragon Quest Monsters game that you can go pick up that is sort of like a, hey, let's take a look at the childhood of a character from Dragon Quest 4, right? I can't get into who it is without major spoilers. But like the new Dragon Quest Monsters game, if you look at that and then compare it to Pokemon, like you can see where they very wildly diverged, but they were never necessarily coming from, oh yeah, there was this one point in the timeline and then they split like that. It's like, no, it's just that you had the idea of capturing and like domesticating X creatures, like a creature raising thing. That vocabulary was already kind of floating in the air for several years before Dragon Quest V did it, and then even before Pokemon did it. So they both wound up looking at the one conceit, and Megami Tensei in turn is like based off of wizardry, right? It's just that they then added in demon negotiation as a whole thing to kind of like really spice things up. So again, there are certain ways in which you can like follow certain lines, but then sometimes you just sort of see things gestate from the energy that was already in the air, and then things just get approached very differently based on that. Okay. Let's see. Interesting. Okay, so what came out? Hell. But thank you, Shen. I appreciate it. I realized that like Shen had said a thing and I didn't actually acknowledge. Like I generally value how. Yeah, a lot of it is mostly just like stuff that I pick up from paying really close attention to things and how they're explained more so than anything else. I am just out here doing my best, DM. Okay, so grass. So this can be 40, and then the other two can be 45. So this one can be -50, and then this one can be -45. That furthest mount may have picked up an extra bit when I exported. If it doesn't fit, the part isn't supposed to be there because I made sure it fits seam-wise. Ace sprite things. Okay. So the 2 layers I'm looking at that look like they shaved over, as far as I can tell. Yeah, the part where there's discoloration. Okay, bet. So yeah, it looks like the back range mountains. Let me take a look here and just make sure that I didn't also do any other funny offsets. Yeah, the back range mountains looks like they might have taken the most. But let me, before you go mess with anything, I'm gonna just sit down and turn off the other layers real quick and just look very carefully just to make sure that I didn't mess up any of the other seaming. Clouds, front clouds. Okay. Back range mountains. Let's take, if I do. Okay. Alright. Yeah, no, we don't want something. Offset is based on the top level. Okay. Okay. Yeah, because the repeat, I'm gonna go double check and make sure that I'm not messing up my understanding of that. Give me 1 second here. Okay, let me see something here. Godot, Parallax. Okay. Hang on a second. Parallax 2D. Alright, let me see something. Interesting. Okay. I found a plugin that basically lets me look at the parallax the way that it is intended to be shown in game. And I'm also looking at some of the documentation that Godot has about it. Unless, hang on a second, sorry, I'm also having a moment where I'm wondering if I remembered to actually, okay, I did update it correctly. Okay. I just had to have a moment where I'm like, did I remember to switch these over to the correct node well ago, or did I forget? Let me see here. Okay. It looks like we might manage, maybe. because either the other stuff will cover it, or or we'll get something else. Because the interesting thing is that yeah, like with this, it feels like yeah, but if I do that, it's too far out. So alright, let me finish with it and we'll see. Because it looks like in the preview, by virtue of the preview, it looks like it will probably be fine. But I don't really have a way of like masking off the. I don't really have a way of masking off the edge. I'd have to figure out exactly how much it's over by and then cut it. If we look at the actual. Yeah, I see. Because going off of the parallax 2D preview, let me go look at the documentation for this. Okay. Alright, let's give it a look.
Stage 2. Ready? Swift flying, rookie.
Yeah, I gotta see how this came in. I gotta see how this got imported, because the whipped cream mountain. I'm sorry, Saj, shenanigans happened with it. You'll see in a minute when this actually when you can see it. Forgive me. Yeah. I can see if I have a way of like importing it that might make it
Stage 2. Ready?
I make it not banned like that, but
flying,
we have to
rookie.
I have to see.
Spin off.
Yeah.
Spin off.
And then we really got to be very careful about those shots. Because the owners stand out fine.
Spin off.
Is it possible to remove those two layers that... Remember the thing I told you well beforehand? Insofar as, like, is it possible? I was about to say, like, keep in mind, you saw me put them in. It is entirely, literally child's play for me to hide any or whichever layers you need. It isn't, it's not. That's why I was like, you're asking, like, is it possible to remove those two? It's like, I can literally go and hide them right now. You saw me put them in and hide them. Which two layers specifically are you talking about? The frill flowers and I'm assuming the whipped cream mountain. That's the only reason why I was like giving you the look for a second, because I'm like, I was just like, you saw me hide them. I can hide them. This is absolutely fine. Just make sure you keep the names. I would say keep the names the same so that I don't have to, so that I can just like drop them in.
Ready?
And we're good.
Swift flying, rookie. Spin off. Speed. Spin off.
Yeah.
Ultimate spin off. Spin off. Spin off. Ultimate laser. Spin on. Power. Spin off. Spin off. Spin off. Spin on. Ultimate ready. Spin off. Ultimate laser. Spin off. Spin off. Speed. Spin off. Ultimate off. Spin off. Power. Spin on. Spin on. Stage clear.
All right.
Ultimate ready.
I'm gonna take a look at one other thing because I feel like it probably has something to do with the way that I imported them that caused that to happen. It's either that or the actual view. It's one of those two. I'm gonna just go mess with something real quick. It feels like with the dithering in particular, I am not entirely sure if it's because the resolution doesn't match. I'm gonna do something else real quick. I'm just curious about one thing. I'm curious about something. If this does work at the thing that I think it does, then we will see. But this involves this theory needs to be correct, if that's the case. For anybody wondering what's going on, I'm literally running a build version of Shoot Lancer because I want to see if it is an issue with the built version or not. Um, okay. Let me see if I have this completely Hey. Hold on a second. Ah, dang it. Why do I have a bad feeling like there's something that broke in that version that nobody told me about? All right, I gotta look at something real quick. Hold on. Godot, please stop messing with me right now. Godot. Oh, it's probably because the export window is still open, isn't it? I'm like, why is it not working? All right, let's see here. Second. You're gonna fade away now. Peace. All right. Just see one thing. Let me know if something gets fixed with dithering. Otherwise, I'll just make it solid. Yeah, I just wanted to test it out in the full size version to see if it's specifically an issue with the pixels being crunched down by the editor or not. So I'll let you know the results in a second. I just need to make sure that you know I can actually like control the thing as intended. And I'm just double checking on a particular thing right now to make sure that I didn't botch something else the last time I made a build. Damn it, I knew I forgot something. All right. Well, that's fixed, I guess. All right, so let's try this again real quick. Let's, yep. All right. Or what I need to do really is just notepad. Alright. I returned victor. I heard the news. Congratulations. Congratulations on the clear. Y'all did it. I'm proud of y'all. You did it. You did good. You did the best. In fact, there you go. Okay. All right. Let's try this again. Um. Okay, there we go. It is doing the thing now. Okay. The reason why it looks so different for context for people who are like I like why it's so different now. I literally went to do an export of the game, and I'm running it at the size that it runs at normally. So now it's actually running at proper 1080p and not being squashed down. Mostly because I want to see if I want to see if the dithering issues are specifically because it's being squished down or because of something else. Uh, there we go. But yeah, we'll get to see in a second if that's the actual issue. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's what I had a feeling. Um, Dang it, Yuna's probably gone. Okay, I think I can do a screenshot without it causing too much fuss if I do this quickly. Yeah, because I had a feeling that basically speaking, the only reason why it was looking nasty cramped was because of the lower screen resolution for the editor. Because like to my knowledge anyway, I don't know if Godot has a way of like forcing the editor to actually scale all the way up to the size that you've set. That's hilarious. Yeah, Ultimate Laser is really strong. But all right, let me see if that screen cap actually captured. Let me see. Go drop this off in the art portion and Okay, so then that pretty much resolves exactly the thing I was worried about. Well, I was just like, yeah. But what struck me in particular when I was thinking about it was more like, in my head, I'm just like, I bet I need to see what this looks like in the actual game by itself, just to get a sense of all right, yeah. So it looks like basically I should fix that. That's the part I need to fix. Uh, so good, that works. Okay. I just need to go mess with the ultimate timer a little bit and make sure that the timer does not go off. The timer stops once the stage has been cleared. So that I think I can do pretty easily though. Um, let's go over to HUD.cs and connect a few things. So over here, I should test one thing real quick. Uh, or I should check one thing real quick, rather. I need game state, post boss. Yeah, let's just make my life easier. And we can just do um, signal, public, delegate, void, um, post boss, entered, event handler. Right? Yes. And then we're gonna call this the signal for when the game enters the post boss state. Because the HUD, I'm thinking about it. Uh, probably safer to do it on start, I think, right? So base on start, we're gonna just do well, let me think about it real quick. Okay, yeah. Okay, no, this is where I should do it. The player. Okay, so we're gonna do player dot. We're gonna do player script instance player weapon node. Over here, and we're just gonna do void stop ultimate timer, then ultimate timer. Second. Okay, so we can just do it over here. So you don't even need a signal, really. We don't need either of these things. Or we could still use a signal. It's a 50-50. There are a couple of things we could do here. Right? From an ideal perspective, it is probably better. One way or another, we should probably have at least some idea of when the game ends. So I think I do want to actually make a signal emission happen here. Hang on a second. Public delegate void on post boss enter. All right. We build it first, and then we'll see if this works. There we go. So basically speaking, what I'm doing right here, signals in Godot. I should also the timer node that rolls. So basically speaking, right? the way that we handle this is essentially speaking, this public delegate void on post boss entered event handler, that whole thing is a really wordy way of saying, hey, we are going to. Okay, I had to check one thing real quick. So, yeah, basically the idea here is that when we enter the post boss scene, we're going to emit a signal so that we know that that's the thing that happened. However, in order for this to work, there are a couple ways that we can handle this really realistically. Um, so let's go over to player weapon. Basically, this is the question, right? The question we essentially have to answer at this point in time is who should be responsible for coordinating this communication? Because you see, right, the game state machine is always going to be in every stage, is going to be in every scene that is a stage, right? So now it becomes a question of, okay, no, I already did a thing for this. This is why I made sure that I was like, right, let me actually look here for a second before I do anything silly. Because now I have a couple options. I think I'm gonna do it because that thing would have already been, yeah, that will already be there before the player shows up. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to have the player weapon be responsible for doing the connections because that's what makes the most sense. And we're just going to do dual. Well, no, actually, might be able to do one even better. Level manager. All I really have to do is public static pool is stage one thing I gotta make sure of. What did I call this thing? This is game state results. Okay. Because now, very simply, we can come over to the player weapon, and over here, so I went all that trouble to basically do this. If we don't have an ultimate active at the moment, and if the boss has not yet been defeated. And for now, we'll just leave it empty else, because I don't think we need anything else. So basically, I went to all that trouble just to make sure that the ultimate ready sound clip, did I minimize that by accident? Yes, I did. Because I'm not paying attention. So the way that this should work, now is that if we, if you get, like, basically speaking, your ultimate should stop charging once the stage is over. This is something that we can test, like, basically right now. Like, once the actual stage is over, your ultimate should stop charging.
Shoot lantern. Ready? Swift flying, rookie. Stage 1. Ready? Swift flying, rookie. Spin on. Spin on. Spin on. Double. Spin on. Spin on. Ultimate ready. Spin on. Right now. Spin on. Speed. Speed. Spin on. Speed. Spin on. Double. Spin on. Spin on. Spin off. Ultimate booster. Spin off. Spin off. Crank up.
There we go.
Stage clear.
Okay, good. It stops. Okay, good. It stops. So now all I really need to do, I'm going to make one little adjustment actually. And we're just going to do this one. And now all we really need to do is we're going to come over here. What we're going to do is in post boss state. Well, hold on. One more, actually. Because we can basically keep this a little more distinct. Level manager. Yeah, I don't think I need. I can, for right now, just do a binary on either. Just do here, and then we're going to do if there we go. So that should handle it. So now now basically the way it's set up is that now basically once the results screen shows up, your ultimate stops charging. So basically speaking, you get that nice little um, especially if you're like um, especially if you're in a position where you're trying to like get in one last cheeky ultimate drop to get a bomb back to maximize your bomb score. Now you have a little bit of that dead time in between when the boss has died and when the stage clear shows up in order to do that. Since you do now get bonus points for how many of those you have. Huh. Sorry, I have a place to be tomorrow, and I'm just looking at ways to get there, and it's like I really might as well just take the bus because the bus is literally only about half an hour, which puts it at maybe 40 minutes or so. Well, no, 45 minutes or so on a good day, if like plus or minus for traffic. So, okay, plans upon plans upon plans upon plans upon plots upon plans. Yes. Alright. Cool. So that all works. Okay. I think I will probably wind up calling stream a little early, only because I wanted to mostly just do those things, and I don't want to tempt myself by going to go fuck around and do some stuff that I shouldn't be doing. So I'm gonna hold that for right now. I feel like we should go hang out with somebody, so I'm gonna go look for someone. Yeah, G to the next level is still on cooldown. Who did we raid? Yeah, last 28. No, last week on the 23rd, we raided Twisted. Because then, like, why does it say 7? Okay, so Twisted's not on today, so let's see here. Know that it. Yeah, Prez 12 days ago. Yeah, that timing matches because I don't think we've rated anybody else in the intervening time. That sounds about right. Okay, so let me sit down and clear the list a little bit. All right, let's see who we're gonna go. Yeah, I'm calling stream a little early just because, like I said, I don't want to like push my luck and start getting the itch to do more things than I should be doing right now, as far as programming goes. So let's go to Twitch. Links, you can follow me over there at those links. Feel free to check out like my design blogs, go watch previous stream VODs, check out my Ko-Fi. If you want to support me in the stream without giving money to Amazon and Jeff Bezos, throw in if you want to do anonymous gifts for the apartment or for stream setup stuff, and then my card for other social media to follow or what have you. If you want to know more about Shootlancer, want to know more about Munity, which is a co-op that I helped co-found. Sav also is one of the co-founders. If you want to know more about it, you can go hit us up at these spots. You want to support us, we are on Patreon. You want to play the prototype of Shootlancer, we have a recent-ish one up over on our Twitch page. And then Gilded, if you want to hang out with me, like me personally, whenever I'm not streaming, that right there is the way, pretty much. I think, who is it that I want to go and hang out with? Because on one hand, we've got, I feel like we could use someone quiet, and I also feel like going to be chaos over here for once instead of having to be the one that gets caught in the chaos instead. We're gonna go raid Shark Afterix, aka Shark, aka one of my very wonderful mods, just because I like giving Shark a bit of a stressy instead of being the one to get stressy positive. So there's your raid message. Throw in whatever emotes you want. They don't have to be my emotes, whatever emotes you feel like. Just hit Shark. Let Shark know what's good. Give her a good shaking. But alright. Thank y'all. Deeply appreciate it. Thank y'all for hanging out with me. Streams will continue on as normal. We have this upcoming Friday is Fighting Friday. It is the first Fighting Friday of August, and basically the last Fighting Friday we will do before Sagat releases for Street Fighter 6. So please look forward to that. Money is a little tight, so I don't know if I'll have Sagat right away. If some things shake out, then I will probably be able to get him maybe around September-ish, give or take, or maybe later in August. It depends on a couple of other things coming to fruition. I don't want to get too deep into the weeds on it, but August is going to be a very sort of like critical make or break month for a couple of things that may have an impact on how streams are going forward from September on. I don't want to say anything too deep about it right now because we need to see how things turn out. It could be it could be good news, it could be potentially not so good news, but I don't want to get too deep into it right now. I will let y'all know closer to like the middle or end of August, or possibly earlier than that, depending on what news I get in the upcoming weeks, how that whole thing is shaking out and whether or not it's going to affect stream in the way the stream runs and all that other stuff. But we'll talk about that a little bit later in August. Right now, things are just in a very, what I'm going to call, the scales could tip in one direction or the other. And I feel like it would be irresponsible if I didn't let y'all know that, but I don't want to get too deep into the details one way or the other without really having a sense of it. So, ideally, if things really work out well, I can get Sagat up and going before we get too deep into August, so we get a proper Fighting Friday with him. I would like to do a release day stream or release week stream with him so y'all see him and see what's up with him. But we will see. I think I can swing him individually, but ideally it would be easier for me to get the season pass for Street Fighter 6 in order to get him, and that might not be in the cards immediately. Anyway, we're gonna go hang out with Shark. You got your rave message. Stay safe, wash your hands. If you go outside, wear a mask, be excellent to each other, but not the bigots, racists, terrorists, sexists, anti-queer folks, or fascists. Black Lives Matter, trans rights, and reproductive rights are human rights. Palestine, Sudan, the Congo, New Caledonia, and Haiti must all be free. None of us are free till we're all free. If fighting games aren't your thing, I forgot to say this. If fighting games aren't your thing, you can come by on Sunday, 5 p.m. Eastern Time. Check us play some Tales of Vesperia Definitive Edition. But let's go hang out with Shark. I'll catch y'all later. Basically, we'll have some co-working going on, and then in between, she's doing some Pomodoro breaks where, like, she'll go and play something called Spilled Bees. So we'll see what that's about. I just want to give y'all something nice and chill to go hang out at. Alright, y'all. Appreciate y'all. I'll catch you when I catch you. Deuces.